My name is Travis Weesey, and today I'm going to be making potato pie, spelled with a Y. And in my research on this, it's actually going to be very much akin to, say, a rice pudding. So that's where you're going to see a lot of the ingredients that come into play, and I'm actually going to go ahead and read the recipe for everything, potentially have some subtitles below, but at the very least have the recipe in the description as well. So, to make potato pie, take 2 pounds of potatoes and boil them, then peel and mash them to pieces. Then take half a pound of suet, shred small, and a pound of currants, a pound of raisins, and 2 eggs, a quarter of lemon, shred very small, and little beaten pepper. Mix them together and put in a dish and cover it and bake it. When you think it is baked enough, take it out and take a pint of white wine, Caudle into it. Now, to kind of explain everything bit by bit, we're starting off with the potatoes, and the leaves, that's fine. So we have and as a preface, we're actually cutting all of these ingredients down by half, so it won't be as much. Right now we have 8 pounds of potatoes, still fairly warm, then mashed. Our raisins, instead of currants, we're actually using dried cranberries, which will get a similar taste, given that the currants are kind of a tart, dry grape as well, but not as tart as the dried cranberries, so we'll go with that instead. Now the suet was one of the stranger ingredients, given that that is basically just a fatty substance from cow, which could be substituted by Crisco. Today we're actually going to be using butter instead, which is diced up nicely, so while I'm speaking, I'm going to go ahead and mix that in while the potatoes are hot. Start doing that. And as I mentioned, the raisins and currants are all here as well. Their portions cut in half, so we'll just go ahead. This is just very simple startup. Just mixing everything together. It's melting in pretty nicely. Next. The funny thing about these old recipes is that they don't really go into too much detail beyond just toss it in with whatever the measurements are. Somebody's got a hold of his bone, but that's fine. I tried avoiding that earlier, but he is determined. Thank you, bear. What is this? Alright. So this is all mixed up pretty nicely. And and pepper, excuse me. This was one of the ingredients that wasn't really specific, so just kind of eyeballing that. Oops, sorry. Don't think you should. Okay. So, next, I'm going to throw this into our pan. And while this is cooking, I'm actually going to be going ahead and making the caudle, since that was mentioned, and that's actually going to be sort of a thickening agent for this recipe, which I had initially dismissed, but listening to my betters, decided against it. So we'll be moving on to that. Okay, so now we're moving on to the caudles, and to fix a minor mistake that I made a second ago, this is not a thickening agent, this is more of an actual sauce akin to like the brandy sauce for a bread pudding. So what I have here is some milk mixed with oatmeal and a pinch of salt, and just kind of creating the base of the sauce. We've already had a little bit of a boil, now it's at a simmer. And with that, we're going to be adding a little bit of honey, some spice, where the recipe called for either nutmeg or mixture spice. I have a chai spice mixture. And then last, we'll go with some egg, which we won't worry about for right now since this is at the simmer. And very last will be some of the wine, given that it's the wine Caudle. I'll also kind of taste test since the spice doesn't specify an amount, but let's get started. So, go with honey. That's about a teaspoon to start. In, give it a little taste. Oh, it smells pretty cool right off the bat. Get a little bit more. Now I will go ahead and add the egg, and we'll move on from here since I'm going to have to mix this up pretty thoroughly, so not as interesting, but after that we can just move on and then jump to see what this becomes. Oh yeah. Okay, so right here we have our caudle that's already come out to a nice consistency, and then we have the pudding itself, which, well, the potato pie rather, that we cooked at about 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 40 minutes, and it's come out to a nice consistency. Maybe threw a little broil on it for the top at the end. But now we have our final product, and let's see how it is. Everything there. Ooh. I think that worked out pretty nicely. And there we have it, potato pie.